What's up, you guys? Today we are finally back on the 68 Ford Torino, and we are back with the AOD. So if you guys haven't seen the past videos, we got this thing out of the junkyard, out of a 93 T-Bird, I believe it was, and it seemed to have been rebuilt. I'll put the link up here if you guys want to check that out. But now is the time to take off the C4, continue the series with the AOD swap. We've got the Torino under the carport, and we've changed out the Comet, so we've got room to work on this thing now. So ain't nothing left to do but to take out the C4 and start measuring, start making sure that everything will fit, and see what we've got to buy to make this thing work. Let's do it. Here we go. We've got Bob helping out. And the first thing we're going to do is take off this drive shaft. Take it all out, back and the front. And then I think after that we're going to try to take off the bolts that mount to the engine, to disconnect the lines, and then get the transmission jack under here to take off this cross member there. And well, we still have to turn the engine and get the converter bolts as well.
Ain't no problem.
What do you think? An hour?
Maybe an hour.
All right, we got the drive shaft taken out, looks like. Oh, there we go. She's a leaker. I've got the starter out as well. This thing was already on its way out. Good thing I pulled the starter from that T-Bird as well. I'm not sure if it's this or the actual ring gear on the flex plate there, but there we go. We're getting along pretty good. You can see right there how it's just leaking like crazy, and Bob was mentioning that it was probably from the front pump right in between here. I also know from the shifter as well, that's a very common leak for these C4s, is the shifter right here.
It's a little cattywampus.
There's a seal right there, an O-ring that goes there. You have to take the whole pan, and I think you have to take off the inside of the transmission as well to get to that switch. So it's kind of a pain, but yeah, this thing's out. It's already on its way out. It's done for, so we're just gonna take it out for that AOD. Here we go. Draining this thing out. Oh! Look at that thing. Holy cow. She is done for. Oh, man. What is that? All that like clutch?
Yeah.
Clutches? Holy cow, dude.
Man,
Yeah, thing is toast.
Yeah. That paste.
Oh, that's pretty cool, dude. I've never seen one of these. She's coming down. She's coming down. Oh. Oh.
There we are.
Dang. There you go. One mini C4, 3-speed. Alright guys, so I've got both transmissions side by side, and we can tell right away that the AOD is a little fatter than the C4, but if we take a closer look, they look to be the same length. And this is a piece of the drive shaft that I cut off from the junkyard car, and the reason that I took this is because I wanted to see the spline count was the same, and check that out, the same spline count, although the AOD is a lot deeper, and so that means that the drive shaft might be a little short by about ½ inch. So we'll figure all that out once we get this thing bolted on. But what's really cool about the AOD is that it uses the same mount as the C4. So I took the mount from this one, and check this out. Bam, it's mounted on the AOD. So that is going to really simplify this swap. That means that I'll be able to use the same cross member. I think what I'll have to do is possibly slot these holes here to give it more adjustment. But again, once I have the trans bolted up to the engine, we'll have to figure all that out. But the one thing with the AOD that a lot of people are intimidated by is the TV cable, which is this one right here. And you have to make sure that this thing is adjusted correctly, because you will burn up the trans and you will not get very far. This thing will mess up if the pressure on here is not correct. And one thing that I was sort of wondering, kind of scratching my head about, is how can I make the shifter work as well on the floor shifter of the Torino and the shifter on here. So I want to give a big thanks to Fernando. He reached out to me and he told me that the shifter has to be the same as the C4. You notice how this one is up? Well, you're gonna have to switch the shifter on the AOD up as well. So he recommended to me a kit that is used to make it go up in the position that it needs to be. So big thanks to Fernando for the tips. It's always very much appreciated. Let's take a look at the kit and see how we can make this thing work. Here is the kit by Lokar, ACA 1807, and it says it's for a column linkage, but I'm pretty sure that this will work with the floor shifter as well. It comes with all of the heim joints that you'll need, along with the rod, so you can cut it and bend it however way you want it, and then the all important selector right there. And this is the one that you're just able to unscrew it and change the orientation of the tab, and it's a very nice piece. Check that out. So this is the one that we're going to replace with the one in the AOD, and that will allow us to put this tab on the up position where we need it to be. That means that the TV cable will now be switched to the bottom position here, and Lokar sells a kit for this as well. It's already on its way, but that is really cool that Lokar makes this stuff to make this swap a lot easier. But Pacoima Speed is a channel on YouTube that has a pretty good video on how to switch this thing out. There's just a big nut behind here and a roll pin right there, and then you just take it all out, you put the new one in, and you are ready to go. So super cool. The only other thing that I'm gonna have to do, I think, is bang on the firewall a little bit, because these top bolts, it's gonna be super tight to bolt on. So we'll see once we install it, but enough talk. Let's install this thing and let's get to work. Okay, you guys, the AOD is finally mounted to the engine and it is looking really nice in here. It's just crazy to think that this 1993 Thunderbird transmission is installed into this Ford 302 68 Torino. That is just so cool. But let me give you guys some tips to make this install a lot easier. The biggest tip here is that you are able to use your original C4 mount, your cross member, and that is just amazing because that will save you so much time and make this install just so much easier to do. And as you saw, all that I did is I slotted the holes where the mount attaches to, and then I also slotted the holes on the cross member on the ends, and it is now on the last square hole of the subframe here. So basically all that you do is you slot all of the holes. I also slotted the holes on the rubber mount here as well, and I believe that this bump here is supposed to be on the other side, but man, as you saw, it is pretty tight, so we had to flip this thing to the other side and it is now over here. I don't think that would be a big problem because check this out, we need all the room that we can get. If you flip it back to how it's supposed to be, it will hit the pan here, so we definitely need all the room that we can get. The other tip is the top bolts on the engine, on the bell housing. I don't think I'll be able to get a good view here, but I'll put some video up. So the two top bolts, it is really tight and you are not able to put them on. What I did is I used two long pry bars and I just put it against the bell housing and against the firewall, and I just flexed it a bit, flexed the firewall a bit, and that will give you enough room to put the two bolts that you need. So that's all you need to do is grab two long pry bars and just flex the firewall a little bit to create enough room to put those two bolts in there. And man, it is sure tight, but it will definitely work. So there you go. The biggest tip here is that your original C4 crossmember will work, and that is just huge for this swap. But I will not be using this oil pan here. I think I'm gonna have to make some more clearance in the crossmember here because the one that I have is an extra capacity pan. So let me show you guys what I've got, and let's install this thing and continue on with the AOD swap. This is the pan that I picked up, and this is a B&M high-tech deep pan, and it is used. It does have some blemishes, but I picked this thing up for $60. These are normally $300 brand new, so this is just a huge score. But check this thing out. This thing is massive. Like it is so huge. I think you can fit a baby in here because it is just so deep, and this allows for 3 extra quarts of fluid, which is just insane. The AOD pan, the original one, is big enough, and man, they just went off with this thing because it is massive. I also picked up the filter here. Here's the part number for it, and they recommend the off-road filter. They say that you don't really need it, but I thought might as well replace the filter. And the difference with the 4x4 filter is that it has a small pickup tube, so it'll pick up all of the fluid there that's near the bottom of the pan. So super nice pan here. It is just massive, and I will be adding a trans cooler. I just want to keep this trans happy, and it already has this looks like a temp sending unit, so I think that's a very good idea to add a temperature gauge on the car there so we can keep track of this AOD. But man, this is such a sweet upgrade. So let me see how I'm gonna make this thing work now in the car. Taking off the filter because we're gonna put on the extended pickup, and this is a good chance to see what's under here as well. It's looking really clean. Wow.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Really clean. And there you go. That's the new filter with the little tube on there for the D-pan. So let's get the D-pan installed and see how she looks. There we go. So we did have to clearance the cross member a lot more. See right here, we clearanced it all right here on the edge because this pan is just way too big. The original one will fit if you clearance it a little bit, but this one we definitely need to clearance it because this thing is pretty massive. But man, this thing is gonna be awesome. All right, and there you go. Pan is installed. I got a really nice Moroso pan gasket. It's the blue one with the steel insert. And man, this pan is looking really, really nice. Check that out. Not too shabby. So here we go. We've got the drive shaft. We changed out the yoke because the original one was too long. As you can see, it's already up to where it's the max, but it's way too long because this thing is not fitting, as you can see right there. So we're off by still by about an inch because you know you want a little bit of wiggle room. So this thing is not gonna work. So we're gonna see what we can do. I don't think we're gonna be able to use this drive shaft, so let's go check it out, see what we can do. All right, and there is the drive shaft installed, ready to go. And they actually did cut and rebalance the drive shaft. I believe it was about 1 3/8 inches. But just make sure that you measure your drive shaft and that you get your numbers right, because again, we think that this drive shaft was from a Ranchero. It wasn't the original one from the car. I think someone had swapped it out over the years, but now it is fitting really good. And yeah, we've got a very nice drive shaft down to the transmission, and this thing is almost ready to go. Well, I think that's going to be it for this part of the AOD series. We've got the AOD mounted to the engine, which was the biggest part, and we've got it successfully mounted to the subframe of the car using the original cross mirror, which is just so huge and saving so much time. I've got the drive shaft installed as well, and man, we've got a lot of work done, but we still have a ton of work to do to get this thing on the road. I've already installed the starter here, and this one was from the 93 Thunderbird, and it's got that solenoid on the top here. So I'll show you guys how to wire this thing up on the next video. We still got to do the linkage for the shifter on the transmission as well, and then I want to get a oil cooler for this transmission to make sure that this thing is ready to go wherever we go. But man, we've got a ton of work to do. I want to give a big thanks to Bob Mercury. He helped me out so much with this build and with a lot of the other cars as well. If you guys have seen the past videos, I'll put up a link for his channel right here. He's got some very cool cars that he works on, a lot of Mercuries, and man, very knowledgeable. But that is going to be it. Keep a lookout for the second part. We're going to finish this thing and hopefully have it on the road. I hope you guys found some of this info useful, but there you go. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bam!